I know you'll not be able to read it all from here, but I'll just point out a few of the changes. Look at the top line here. We've got, in the current fuel package table, we've got 0.25 for external walls. We're now down to 0.19. Roofs, at the moment, we've got 0.16. We're now down to 0.13. Window and door openings, we've got 1.8 at the moment. We're now down to 1.5. We haven't changed the allowance for thermal bridging, but I have to say that we've changed the way that is actually calculated. So designers have to take a bit more care over how they actually account for their thermal bridges at the junctions. Minor change to the gas boiler efficiency, 0.2%. Big thing along here, there's a solar thermal system put in. Last time around, there was another column here which covered solid mineral fuel, and that had a solar thermal requirement, but none of the others did. This time, they've all got a solar thermal requirement. I have to say, this is just to set the target, though. There are other ways of doing it. We don't mandate using active solar water or something like that. On the other side of the table here, what else? Air infiltration. We've improved on that. It used to be 10, or currently is 10. It's now 7. Low energy light fittings. We've now made that 100%. Again, all these changes all contribute to the target. Okay, moving on to non-domestic buildings. Well, we've amended the formula, but this time we've got a 30% reduction, which is a flat 30%. And we've got a slight issue there because it's a flat 30%, the naturally ventilated buildings formula and the mechanically ventilated buildings formula actually end up getting pushed together. And we got a bit of criticism last time around that we were making it too easy for air-conditioned buildings. What we have now done, though, is we've actually made a tweak and factored the notional building if there's air conditioning installed, and that then gives the air-conditioned buildings a challenge. We've introduced that additional parameter for thermal bypass. We've got the low carbon equipment element, the renewable benchmark. That, again, has been tweaked slightly. It was a 10%, it's now a 15% improvement. Department of Energy and Climate Change, they've changed all the carbon factors to take account of the electricity generation mix. If we were to use the pure factors that they've adopted, electrically heated buildings would have a really tough challenge. So again, we've introduced a factor that will actually maintain the relationship between electricity and gas and electricity and oil. The shell and fit-out buildings. We now require the shell to be subject to standard 6.1, and the simplified building energy model methodology for non-domestic buildings now been updated. Oh, that's just a slide just showing the two formula. There you go. That's the bit I was talking about where they're being pushed together. You've now got a 47% for naturally ventilated buildings and 50% for air-conditioned, mechanically ventilated buildings. But as I say, we've made it tougher, but it's actually the factors included in 6.16. Okay, the other standards that exist. These all act like backstops. And these are all the real sort of energy efficiency standards. 6.1 sets the target that you've got to get to, but there's flexibility between that and these minimum backstops. But we have improved all these, and we have very much a fabric-first approach. That will be around for a long time, so we don't want too many trade-offs with bits of extra services kit being added to the building. Generally, the U values have changed to between 10 and 20%. We've taken account of, again, more changes to thermal bridging, the calculation, thermal bypass, similar to dwellings, we've taken account of that. Heating, lighting, etc. We've raised all those standards to what industry can achieve. And last but not least, we've got some more metering for non-domestic buildings. We have a very basic form of metering at the moment, but we've extended that now to include sub-metering of certain bits of services kit, and also we've got communal areas of multiple occupancy buildings. They also require meters. Worthwhile just mentioning about the infiltration guidance, because there's quite a radical change there. Currently what we do, we have post-completion testing, air tightness testing, but that's only if people are actually declaring particularly good levels of air tightness. We ask them to prove that. The approach has now changed. It's basically now going to be a random sample testing of all buildings. We've got the main thing that we still have got to work on, that we want to develop further, is what the implications are of failing air tightness tests. And we want to work with the Scottish Association of Building Standards Manager on developing further guidance on that. We are phasing the introduction of air tightness testing. It's not coming in at the October point this year. It's coming in for flats and maisonettes. It's coming in May next year, and then for the rest of the dwellings, it's coming in October next year. So it's to allow a bit of time for industry to gear up to the testing regimes. And last but not least, we are actually amending Section 3 Environment, giving improved guidance as far as ventilation is concerned, particularly with regard to trickle ventilation, because obviously there's a risk that the more airtight you make the building, obviously the risk is there's air quality issues there. Okay, just like to move on to the sort of second part of my presentation. We're talking about sustainability here. Now, sustainability, let's see. Building Scotland Act 1959 was the act that was before the 2003 Act. And it said that Scottish ministers may make building regulations for health, safety, welfare, convenience of persons in and around buildings, furthering the conservation, fuel and power, and that was it. 2003 Act came along and it also said furthering the achievement of sustainable development. Now, that then begs the question, what is sustainable development? It means different things to different people. And I've put down on this slide, just scattered some words down, but I think that most people will be able to say that, well, yes, these do make up sustainability. And when you look on this side, you've got things like, outdoor environment, landscaping, location, land use, urban design, density, noise, external noise, amenity. And I think that most people will recognize that that really falls kind of under the remit of planning. And when you look on the other side here, you've got indoor environment, drainage, safety, water use, adaptability, carbon emissions, energy conservation, durability, internal noise. Most people will then say, well, that sort of falls under building regulations. So we have got a kind of a split there. I've put this down here because I'm not quite sure where that falls. I think it sort of sits in both camps. It's local heat, energy supply, which really is, we're talking about district heating, district CHP systems.